classic. I love it.
Is that delicious beverage?
Duh.
Delicious beverage. Welcome to the show. A little different. We're live tonight. Bootsy is off. Bootsy has an important meeting about go-go with the powers that be. He's not here, so it's just me. I'm excited. My guest tonight, I have known. I'm 56 years old. I've probably known him since I was about 8 or 9 years old. It's crazy. We just saw a Delicious Beverage. He is him and his wife are the creators of Delicious Beverage. And also some new products are on the way. Tonight, we're going to talk about, I'm excited tonight because it's some great information, and we've been talking about this forever, but finally, we're ready. So, number one, executive travel. Now, many of us, like me, I do not travel like an executive. I do not gather points. I do not use them at all. But many of you who are watching, especially our LinkedIn viewers, it's a part of your real life, and you're trying to figure out, how do I get to those levels? Well, my guest is at the highest level, I guess, of Marriott. As far as the system, you know how it is. You have the different levels. He's at the highest level. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. We'll tell you about it. Also, entrepreneurship. My man he is a serial entrepreneur. Even though he's an executive of a company, he's a serial entrepreneur. And, you know, we'll get into the mind of that. And then, of course, last but not least, we're going to talk about quality of life. Recently relocated to Atlanta, and you know, the quality of life piece. I visited a couple months ago, and let me tell you something. Atlanta got it going on. I'm talking about it is jumping. Fish are jumping out the water. Deals are going down. People are making big moves. So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I think I coined him Al Dog when we were younger. But Al Rim, ladies and gentlemen, is in the building. Al Rim is in the building, ladies and gentlemen, please. Al Rim, welcome to the show.
Hey.
So, Al, we opened up with Delicious Beverage. We'll come back to that, okay? Because tonight, the initial focus I wanted to talk about first was this executive travel piece. You're the only person, if I'm honest, and I'm not, you're the only person that I've seen master the executive travel piece. And number one, this has been going on a long time. We are not spring chickens, but I remember Al Rim, a young Al Rim at Kraft, Canada, just racking up travel mileage, just racking it up. I mean, and, you know, one of the funniest stories, you know, one of our classic stories is Al had a timeshare in the Bahamas. And back then, before Atlantis, right, Al? Before Atlantis and that other luxury side of the island, the main spot was it a Marriott that had the casino in it?
Yep, Marriott.
That was the joint. That was the spot. And Al had so many travel miles. There's in casinos they usually have a floor for the ballers. So Al had not only a key to the floor for the ballers, he could let me have a key. He said, "Here you go, bro. You traveling." And I was doing a broadcast and from St. Louis, and so the stories are crazy there. But so that was back. Damn, Al, that's like more than 25 years ago, right?
It was 25 years ago, ish.
So tell us, first of all, when did this whole accumulating, the travel points and the whole hotels and airlines and rental cars? Take us back, Al. Take us to the beginning. I guess would it started after you got out of the service and started off your path at the craft?
Yeah, but I think what started it all was noticing that people had access to places and areas of the hotel, better cars, better rooms, going on floors using keys, disappearing from the elevators where I didn't even know there was that part of the building. So I was always wondering, and then I coined a phrase, if they can do it, I can do it, right? So figuring out what it was, what it took to get at the penthouse level on the penthouse floors. And because there's no way that they're paying for all this stuff. But I didn't know that back then. I just thought these are rich people, and they're staying in the penthouse. They're staying on the penthouse floor. And recently, you were doing a what's that thing you used to do in Baltimore? Bea.
Yeah.
So I'm at Bea. We're kicking it in DC. We're at the Waldmore or the hotel in DC, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you recall the hotel suite I had at that hotel. It was a multi-room, ridiculous suite, but they also had a lounge for the executive lounge. And I met some friends there during the conference. I said, yeah, I'm going to have breakfast at the executive lounge. And they were like, what is that? Right. So even to this day, people that are, think themselves in the know are traveling for their corporations and staying in hotels based on the fact that they're going to these conferences, still don't realize that there's a lounge where you can go and have free breakfast and kick it. And you went up to the lounge with me, and we invited a couple of friends up there, and we had great discussions up there, and it just feels different, right? And just you overhear things, and if you're social enough and you communicate enough, you hear about things, and just keep your eyes and ears open, and you can learn a lot about what people are doing that have access at that level.
I was watching the Joe Rogan podcast the other day, Al, and I remember because people don't understand why podcasts are so popular. And in Joe Rogan's podcast, it hit me the other day, Al, because I've been on the podcast thing a long time, and what I realized is, like, it's not driven by trying to attract the masses, right? He just has he has a ton of people who follow him, right? But I realized it's because, like we were having right now, this is a very specific conversation. It's not it's not even like teed up like TV or shows, where we're trying to entertain you with us. We're giving information, and those people who gravitate towards information, they're interested and they hang out. And the people who aren't, they don't, But I was like, that's what hit me. It's like nowadays everyone's talking about you need a podcast. But I think what they're forgetting is it's not a show. A show really does try to titillate you and capture you and keep you, so you don't really go in depth on stuff because you'd be like, oh, nobody wants to hear that. But a podcast, again, we're talking about something that's really specific. Only probably a certain percentage of people even give a damn about it. But when I watched the Joe Rogan thing, because it's, it goes on for like 3 hours, you know what I'm saying? And so when you tap into something, he's talking about outer space, he's talking about this and that. But if you're into it, you're into it. So again, I say all that to say that's what it is. And so I wanted to, because again, I've known you a long time, and it's interesting. Just like people decide to dress a certain way, so when you're a young man, so Al, as a young man, I remember when you were in the Navy, and you got this BMW. And let me tell you something, Al Rem, you could not eat in this car. You couldn't bring no foolishness to this car. This car, Al kept them tires lubed up with baby oil. The bumpers were lubed up. And so Al, actually, I say all that because it almost same thing with this travel piece. I think, you and I are from Little Springfield, Illinois. Our parents did not have any executive travel, nothing, right? We basically kind of like made the lives that we kind of dreamed of or thought about. So this probably taps into that same Al, right? That same young man who was like, why not me? Why can't I have the finest things? If I'm doing this thing, I want to find out about first class travel. I want to find out about the best things in hotels. So Al, put us inside that mind. So what made you with that BMW and then this thing, take us back to when you were in your 20s and you were thinking, what got you there? Was it tied to not having it as a young person, or was it tied to how you just imaged yourself?
I think it was just, I wanted to see the world. I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to make an impact in the world. And I also wanted to experience everything that life had to offer. And I felt like if you're poor or not doing well, you don't get to experience what life has to offer. So there's a lot of hard work associated with being able to fulfill a dream or whatever. And I think the mindset of just not settling, right? And believing that you can be anywhere anyone else can be. Like, I belong here. Remember that first class lounge at the train station in New York? It seemed like you weren't comfortable in there. And I was like, dude, I mean, this is where we belong, right? So, and once again, you didn't know there was a first class lounge at the train station. So we're up in there, free coffee and snacks in the morning.
But Al, the funny part was how the old black man didn't think we belonged either. That was the funny. That was the part. I didn't even know there was a damn lounge for the train thing. But the guy, maybe because how we were, I don't know what it was. He did not believe. He didn't think we knew where we were.
Ticket, and so please.
Right? He was like, but that didn't phase you either. And it didn't phase you because I'm sure you met it before, but it didn't enrage you either, Al. Why? Why weren't you like offended by that? Why weren't you like, man?
I don't know. I think some people do get offended. My wife sometimes gets offended because I've got a new phrase, because I'm at that, like I said, you had mentioned in the opening, at the highest level of Marriott status. And so when I check in, when someone knows how to check a person at my level in, the courtesies and or whatever. And if I'm not feeling that, I say to them, and if she's there, I was like, you know what? I'm not feeling a lot of love here. I'm not feeling a lot of ambassador love. And the lady or whoever's checking me in, they sincerely may not be well trained or don't understand what it means for a person with my status to be checking into your hotel. I can stay at any Marriott, and I chose to stay at this one. So you should be thankful, if you will, because there's not a lot of people at this level in the organization, at their organization, and you're supposed to take care of us, And she was like, "Well, what would you have in mind?" And I was like, "Well, is the penthouse suite available?"
So Al, let's break down. And again, for some people, I know they're like, this conversation is on some beer, but it's again, some people, most people don't know about the whole setup. So take us, I think Marriott is not your wheelhouse, but it's the one you kind of chose to roll with. Take us to the levels and talk to us about, at the end of the day, is it the investment? Because you as a customer, as a client, you're spending a certain level. So for those who don't know, and even for those who do, take us to the levels. Let's do Marriott of the levels that you of service.
So there's the different levels. There's silver, gold, platinum, executive platinum, titanium, and ambassador. So those are all the levels. And depending on how many nights you stay and how much money you spend, you rise through the ranks. Since I've been doing this for a long time, I don't have to work as hard to get there because I'm platinum and titanium for life. So I don't have to requalify any longer. If you look at the requirements to become to rise to that level, it's some ridiculous amount of money spent and 600 nights stayed. 600. So you might look at your record if you go to Marriott.com and see how many times have I stayed in the Marriott over the course of my life. It's in there. So when you log in, you can see the course of your life, how many times you stayed at the Marriott. And it could be probably less than 100 because most people aren't focused. And that's really the big thing, right? So along the lines of when I first decided I was going to try to reach these levels and these statuses, I'm standing in line checking in at a hotel I don't even know exists anymore. It's called the Intercontinental, right?
Oh yeah.
And so I'm behind the guy who's checking in, and I noticed his luggage tag. It was metal, shiny, silver. It was just glowing, and it said platinum. And I was like, dude, where'd you get that tag at? Because I think I just go to the gift shop and buy a tag like that. He's like, oh, you get it when you have 50-night stay at the Intercontinental. So I made it a mission to get one of those tags. That was like my first year traveling at Kraft Foods many years ago. But what I learned as I was trying to split my days and nights between Marriott, Intercontinental, Hilton, you can't rise to the ultimate levels if you're splitting up nights. So I found, and when I tell my colleagues and when I tell my people that work for me, focus. You gotta focus. And that's it. You gotta focus. Every time if someone says, dude, where you staying? I'm at the Marriott. What kind of question is that? You gotta focus. And so that focus allows you to ultimately stack miles, focus using the same credit card, build the miles there. And then when it's all said and done, January 8th through the 16th or whatever, 13th, it's like I don't know the dates. We were in Cabo and it was 100% paid for because the focus allowed us to stay, leverage the miles to have a nice vacation.
And so, Al, again, this is a world. This really world. We say executive travel because the reality is executives kind of have that kind of pace of travel. I guess the average person, you may go on vacation a couple times a year, you may visit some friends, but people who are in those jobs where you do travel a lot, and so you are on the road, 500, 600 times, you can actually stack it up that way. But it's just, I wanted to have the conversation because the world does exist, and it's Priscilla says, I'm that Marriott girl. It does exist, and like I said, especially for the people who watch on LinkedIn, they definitely relate because I think most of the people, are living that kind of lifestyle. And like you said, focus is so important. And I think it not only turns into the hotel, but also, like you said, with airfare, with car rentals, it taps into all those things. Now, the thing I think is funny, Al, when you check in, and also you're an entrepreneur, so you really understand it. Most of the time in our lives, we have no idea of the power that we command. When you're a client or a customer, they're supposed to serve you.
Yeah.
And your swagger, when you roll up to the desk, it always makes me uncomfortable because it's almost like, you put the pressure on the people because it's like, yo, I'm an ambassador level. And then you see people be like, oh, and then the funny part is, like you said, those who aren't trained well, they may fumble the bag. But for the most part, anybody in charge, they come up and be like, may I help you, sir? It's like, because if an ambassador is pissed off, this could be a problem, right?
Yeah. They could have negative ramifications for management, if you will, and any general manager, whoever's on duty at the time knows this, and they will try to do whatever is required to get out of that situation. If someone's fumbled the bag, as you say, we were served less than fresh salmon one night.
Oh no!
And when I got back from my meetings that day, we had been elevated to a fine room, if you will. And I was thinking, where was this room at when I checked in? Because what I'm saying is, why not give me what I desire up front? I asked for the upgrade. Where'd this room come from? Anyway, so, got the hookup, 75,000 points, and $150 credit on the bill. So I could go eat and drink for the rest of the stay, because that's embarrassing. You don't serve fish that's not prepared right at the Marriott. And then, and we were in Newport Beach or some nice spot, right? And so it just didn't make sense. So, I think people, even when you don't have the ultimate status, don't be afraid to ask. That's my other thing. I've been asking for upgrades since I was a pup. Hey, you have any upgrades? and they'll look at you. What's your Marriott number? And you know you ain't got no status. But at the end of the day, you be like, you know, you got plugged. You know what I'm saying? You're Mark Clark, so you might be able to leverage Mark Clarkism in a certain region of the DMV to get status just on the humble. So, you know, I would say everyone can be upgraded if they try.
And so, Al, as an African-American man, and most of the time you rolling in, you don't have your executive clothes on. Have you found, is there a difference when you roll in, how you dress, or not necessarily in general, as a black man?
I don't know about the black man versus whatever. You could be dressed just, you know, balling, just nice, and still get treated like shit. Like, excuse me, sir, do you work here? No, I don't work here. So I mean, I find we get insulted all the time, especially black men. And so but I let it roll off. You know what I'm saying? I think you know, the blogs and Twitter and going to the website and logging a complaint. You know, it works, and people don't want that to happen. The social media thing is real. So I try not to be outraged. I got other stuff to think about. I can't lie awake at night and be like, man, she should have gave me that upgrade. I ain't tripping on that. And you are the recipient of numerous perks just riding with me, rolling. We know how we roll.
So no, definitely. And it was funny. We were with somebody and he was bragging on his titanium status, but you didn't lord it over him. You just said, you let him pass. He was just bragging. You could have killed him right there. I think I told him. I said, he's an ambassador. He was like, okay.
The titanium is nice though. Titanium is definitely a level that one can achieve, one can aspire to without killing themselves and killing the bank. I really haven't noticed an extreme level of love and benefit from titanium to ambassador. So at the end of the day, getting to titanium is a feat that once you're there, that's a great status.
All right, Al, so we're going to switch out of, that's the executive travel. You can see more of this with Al's book.
And so the piece that we didn't talk about was flying. And same thing there. When whatever city you live in, you need to figure out what airline is their hub and what city you fly to most, and try to focus on that airline and continue to fly on that airline. So and so there are discount airlines out there, you know. And if you're not in a position to fly on American or United or Delta or whatever, I understand that. But if you can fly on one of the major carriers and focus, you do ultimately rise in the ranks on those airlines as well, being loading on the plane first, upgraded to first class on occasion, sitting up front. You know, it all begins to matter. And I am kind of a snob when it comes to flying, so I just wanted to.
Oh,
I'm not proud of it.
Yeah, you treated me to some executive travel last time. You were flustered with my cheap, taking me so long to getting through the transitions.
Oh, wow!
You're like, come on, man, what is this? But again, so I guess at the end
of the
day,
your security game was weak.
Yes, sir. I'm not. Let's see. Okay, wait a minute. Priscilla said swiping that card gets you status too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and that's a shortcut too. If you had an American Airlines card or a Marriott card, just having it gets you to silver, and then 10 more stays will get you to gold, and so that immediately starts to receive perks. Plus, you can leverage the miles to travel and stay free.
So again, we'll get more on that when the book comes out. Albert's going to talk about it in the book for everybody. It's a book will be coming. Is it this year, sir? Maybe not. Okay, fine. Now,
we're working on some stuff. I can't commit to it.
You do, right? You got a lot going on. So do we want to do entrepreneurship first? Because I know that's a passion. Or I was just overwhelmed with the quality of life in my visit with you in Atlanta, right? Because I think what got me was the energy of Atlanta felt totally different of any other place I've really been. A lot of cities have a lot going on, but it always feels like if you're an outsider, if you don't know the right people, it feels like you can't hop in and get involved. Atlanta seems like you can hop in and get involved. So, you're sitting in your huge, humongous house. I was walking the other day thinking about that one room you guys haven't completed. And,
I don't like to talk about that.
You want to talk about that?
No. I was always, teetering around the peripheral of Atlanta, wondering, is it real or whatever, and hot Atlanta. But I think that those rumors and things were just that back in the day. I think there was still a lot of people that were struggling here, and there still is people all over, struggling. But there's a certain amount of entrepreneurs here. It's just an entrepreneurial vibe, right? It's you if you want to start a business, it's no surprise when you walk into from the UPS store to a gas station, that the owner of that organization, that facility, could be Black, right? And which is something I hadn't experienced before. And even in DC, that's not the case. I mean, there's a lot of Black employees, of course, but the ownership there's always been a man behind the curtain. Here, the man behind the curtain, in some instances is white, but in some instances you peel the curtain back and you're pleasantly surprised. And I was saying that I've already had 3 instances of car buying here where in the past, when you get to that room where the finance man is working the numbers, that person's always been a white person. I hate to say that, but in Atlanta, already 3 occasions, two for myself and the wife, and 1 for my son. The finance person has been a Black person, which is completely amazing. So something about the vibe here and the energy here. They're supportive. You go into a conversation about what you do, and they listen on a level that feels different. It feels different. And if they know somebody or if they can support, they'll get your information, and it's not just something to do. And you get phone calls, you get emails, and you find yourself trying to cater to their businesses as well.
And so let's go into entrepreneurship, Al. So you basically have been, I call it a serial entrepreneur.
Yep, Kellogg's.
What'd you say?
Kellogg's, Post.
Right.
A cereal joke.
Right. And I mean, again, you're a chemical engineer by trade. Your 9 to 5 is in that field. You're an executive in that field, but then you have passions surrounding your entrepreneurship,
product development,
and things like that. So, what I'm noticing is, and I've been along for the journey, and I call myself a wannabe entrepreneur to a degree, because what it takes to be one, it's a lot. It's risky. It's you have to be driven. And now when I look at entrepreneurs, I look at them differently, because it's almost like, a Janet Jackson song, "What Have You Done For Me Lately?" That's the life of an entrepreneur, right? You had a great day today. You killed it today. But what you gonna do tomorrow? Yeah. And even when you're up, it's like, so you just got to order to go into, hold on one second. It looks like the hello, family. I'm on the podcast. Can I help you?
Oh, I was at Whole Foods. I didn't know if you wanted anything.
I'm good, honey. Thank you. I forgot my train of thought. But at the end of the day, so you're selling widgets, and now Target wants 1 million widgets. Now you got to figure out how I get the money to make the 1 million widgets to close the Target deal. So it's an interesting space that I now, at 56, I wish we did spend time in school as a class. Entrepreneurship, it's capitalism. We always talk about America's capitalism, but the reality is, I imagine those participating as entrepreneurs, probably, I'm sure the percentage is probably around 20%, right, at the most.
Yeah.
And because of that, there's a whole bunch of misunderstanding going on. Al, I had a friend that you know who's in Atlanta. I couldn't figure out, he was a Trump supporter, right? He was all in. And I was like trying to figure it out. Both parents went to HBCUs, grew up in Springfield. What the hell's going on? I didn't realize he's a truck driver. You know what I mean? Now, because, you know, Trump was speaking a language to certain people in certain industries where people were frustrated because of regulations and frustrated because, but that never got talked about, right? And so talk to us about the life of an entrepreneur for those, you know, for those who are entrepreneurs and for those who are not.
I mean, I think that there's the entrepreneur that has a hobby, right? There's just a major difference when you have a hobby and you're working your hobby and you're making money from your hobby, and you think you are a business person or an entrepreneur. But I think the difference between the person that's working in their hobby, enjoying it and making money from it, but as soon as they like step away and go on vacation, the business falls apart. I see that to me is a very hard position to be in, right? And I think most people find themselves in that category. Then there's that next level where you create a brand or create what do you call it? A product. And then the third thing is a franchise, right? Where you create a model, a business model, and create the systems so it can be replicated, duplicated, and anyone else can step in and create this and grow it and make money from it. And you can step away and make money from it, or you put a product on the shelf and it makes money in your sleep. So to me, that next level entrepreneur is the difficult one because a lot of people don't have the capital to get over the hump in order to create the product, all the packaging, all the research and development, all the regulations, all the certifications you might need in order to be able to create this product. And then there's the infamous MOQ, minimum order quantity, right? So you create the baddest thing you can think of, right? And you find someone that can manufacture it for you, but they want 10,000 widgets as a minimum order, and they're charging you $3 per widget. You could sell it for 20, but you can't get the 10,000, right, or the 30,000 in order to meet their minimum order quantity. And so that is the kind of the real big difference between the mom and pop, I work in the business, it's my hobby, I'm making money, to that next level, trying to create products that can make you money in your sleep and ultimately get on the shelf at the Targets and the Costco's and the Walmarts.
I just think it's so funny, like watching you and you know, grow and create, you know, delicious beverage and different things over the years, but delicious beverages, you know, right now, which is amazing. I just think it's so funny how people will give you advice, but it'll be even people who call themselves like business people, but it's like, hey, you know what you need to do is you need a sugar-free. If you do a sugar-free version of this, you make $1 billion. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a great. you know what, you need to infuse this with if you infuse this with something that people need, I'm gonna tell you, it's gonna make it happen. You're right, but what they don't talk about though is, number one, how much it takes to formulate something like that.
Yep.
And
sourcing the material.
Yeah, all those steps. And it's just funny because I'm like, people say it like it's just magic, and it's not. And I guess that's the part. When you know entrepreneurs or you hop in, you really do have so much respect for people when it is on the shelf and you see this on you see that product and it's doing its thing. You'll be like, okay, you know, and when you see a good product, you know exactly what went into that. It wasn't magical. And I think the disconnect is for those who are not entrepreneurs, they have no idea how anything works. And so they just are like critical. And it's just like, you just sit back and you have no idea what people put into it. and lastly, Al, what I'm also noticing, I think, and because of that, people, they are not. If you don't understand it, you can devalue the situation and not really have a full comprehension of what it takes to do blank, right? And I'm noticing in our community, sadly, it happens a lot. To me, the Deion Sanders thing is to me a prime example of that. No pun intended, a prime example. You know, like people say, you know how we do it. It's like a lot of times from hairdressers to whoever, it's a popularity contest, right? They'll be like, yeah, I don't like Al Rim, you know, or like the thing with Deion. People are like, oh, he should have stayed. I don't like him. I don't like him. You know, da, da, da. But the part that's so funny is what he brought to Jackson State. You know, let's not even talk about him leaving or whatever. Let's just talk about like who he was, who he is, right? A marketing genius. And we're not just saying, we're not throwing that away. Anybody who in college, the light goes on and says, yeah, I need to create an image. I've been nice my whole life on the field starting at 8, but I'm in college and I need to create a buzz about myself to have people willing to pay me money. I play a position at this point that is not getting paid well. I got to create an image that makes people love me, hate me, think about me, see me. So you got the Jerry curl, you got the chains, and then you're the best player, you know, coming out. And so you then come in and change how they pay defensive backs in the NFL, right? That in itself, that's somebody's 19 years old. You know what I mean? But we don't, because we don't really value it or understand it, or maybe sometimes don't know it. We don't understand what that takes, right? So that's the equivalent of creating a buzz about your product, right? Yeah. I got the best lemonade in the world, but you can have the best lemonade in the world, but if ain't nobody heard about it, then no, it's not going to do anything, right? And so, do you think that's what it is, Al? People in our community, because we don't understand entrepreneurship, we kind of like, you know, don't get it. You know, like we don't get it when you have a black restaurant and you tear them down and tell everybody how terrible it is. You don't get how that really hurts you too. What do you think it is? Is it
I think you're onto something, but there's also there is something to the fact that sometimes black businesses be whack, man. They
well, is it all? But Al, is it all? And that is that too? Because maybe they also don't understand what it takes.
I think that they need to have a certain level of excellence, and you got to have standards. And I don't know if they haven't been exposed to enough in order to understand what great customer service looks like. I don't understand what it is. And I think it always starts at the top and works its way down. Someone, the greeter that seats you all the way to the person that's cooking the food, all of them need to have an understanding that this is a reflection on the company and the business and the ownership. And if it's whack, they're whack. If the business is, if you had a bad experience in the restaurant, it goes all the way to the management and the ownership. There's no way that it should be tolerated. I don't care. It is funny because the servers, their tips are a reflection on their behavior and how well they serve you. And you're looking at it as I'm making $7 an hour, but you could be making $20 or $30 an hour. I don't care what type of restaurant it is. Great service is rewarded mostly. And I think that it always comes down to management, understanding excellence, customer service, and designing systems that people can replicate and do well.
Well, and that it helps that you're an engineer, right? It helps that you're an engineer because you have
to read too. You have to read.
You're Mr. Systems guy, right?
Yeah.
And that's the part that is interesting. There are businesses we know because you talk to a few of them in New York, but there are businesses that are successful that could be so much more successful, right? Yeah. There are businesses that have product on the shelf and they could be so much more successful if they just had a better system, right?
Yeah.
We won't be naming names because we have those conversations.
Yeah.
All in all, Al, as we, I know your time is valuable, sir. As we wrap things up, we'll get you back on because there's some new products coming down the pike. How can people order Delicious Beverage? How can people find out to follow you? Give us your pitch.
So deliciousbeverage.com, deliciousbeverage.com. You can go there. You can order retail product. Delicious Beverage is also originally designed to support the food service industry and restaurants. And we're building that business up day by day. Several restaurants in the DMV area already are serving Delicious Beverage, many of our products. But hit me at info@deliciousbeverage.com. We have a food service products that can help you deliver unique beverage type items for your restaurant, and the best lemonade in the world, the best Arnold Palmers in the world. And we look forward to growing the business and helping you grow your business.
Al Rim, continued success. Thank you for breaking it down, sir. And
Thank you for having me.
We'll wrap things up with a Delicious Beverage commercial. Our brother. Take care, my friend.
I'll see you in first class, baby.
Is that Delicious Beverage?
Duh.
It's barely morning, and somehow Mark Clark has to wake up. Of course, Mark has a little help.
I just want to float. We can stay forever.
What? Wait, what about eh? Wakanda? Wakanda?
Level up, 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 level up.
On the road again. I can't wait to get on the road again. Riding bike on Hilton Head Island. I can't wait to get on the road again. Bam! Mom's in front. Bam! Skylar's second. Spencer's third. And last but not least, the first, Sid Rock. Heading to the beach.
Marc Clark, that's classic. I love it.